What's up, gang? It's Ryan from ruck.beer. I'm hanging out here in front of my newly designed Ruck display wall. Some of y'all have been asking about this, how I put it together and why I put it together, so I thought I'd throw together a video and kind of explain some things. First off, obviously I have a lot of bags. The bags that are actually on the wall here, these are ones that I don't use quite as regularly. There's ones like the GR2s up there that really I only break those out for travel. Similar with the Heritage. Old Red there is one of my first GR1s, used it for tons of events, and now it just basically sits there and looks pretty. Some of these are ones that I loan to people, weekend bags, but ultimately these are the ones that don't really get daily use. And so they were just sitting on the floor, and I like all of them, and I think they look really great. And so somehow I convinced my wife to let me hang them next to our entryway here. For the longest time, when I first built my display wall, I just had some black hooks on the wall, and I hung the bags by their handles. I had that for about a year, and what I started to notice is that the handles on my bags started to really stretch out, and whenever I'd take a bag off of the wall, the handle would just kind of be arched at the top kind of permanently because it's been hanging there for months. So I reached out to the good people on the Carryology Classifieds Facebook group, and it basically asked them how they display their bags and how they hang their bags. And I got a lot of great feedback, a lot of great ideas, some amazing pictures of people's bags collections. But some of the things that stood out to me, a lot of people, some were like, oh, it doesn't matter about the handle. Others said that they would take coat hangers and they would hang by the straps, which made sense because that's where the straps were made to bear load. And then I saw somebody who took a coat hanger and actually flipped it upside down so that the ruck laid on the flat part, and I thought that was really cool, and I experimented with that on my hooks. And I kind of took all that information and decided to create what you see behind you now. So ultimately what I did is I went to the hardware store and I got a pegboard. So pegboard is just a big sheet of material. I don't even know what the material is. But it's got holes drilled all throughout it. So I picked that up, and in lieu of hangers, I started thinking I just need something flat and solid. And so I went to the store and picked up some wooden dowels. These are 3/8 inch wooden dowels that I could cut down to the length of the shoulder straps of each individual ruck. And then, because the pegboard has all these holes, you can go and buy hooks for them. I specifically, since I knew that I was going to make the pegboard black, I wanted to find some black hooks. So I picked some of these hooks up right here off Amazon. I'll put a link in the blog post and the comments, or in the description of this video here, where you can grab these hooks. These seem to work pretty good. So yeah, so the process was ultimately, oh yeah, and you got to pick up some like 2x2 pieces of wood. So those 2x2s ultimately are what you want to secure the pegboard to. Since the pegboard has the holes and we've got these clips or hooks that go in, it's got to have room between the wall and the pegboard for the hooks to go in and then latch down. So you don't need a ton of room. I found the 2x2s worked pretty good. I will say, when you think about the placement of your those support beams, for me, my wall is plaster, which if you ever try to drill into plaster, you know that it's a nightmare. I already had some wall anchors in the wall, so I had predetermined that I'm just going to hang those pieces of board wherever those anchors already existed. As I began to hang my bags, I did encounter some problems in that there were places where I wanted to put hooks that I couldn't because there was a board behind it. So I would recommend, if you're making a pegboard, figure out kind of in advance where you think you want to hang your rucks, and then place your support beams accordingly. You're going to want to have enough of those support beams so that once you have bags on there and they have load, or when you're pulling them off, that it has a nice structural integrity to it. I will say that in mine, I did not put any boards at the very top here, and so those bags, if I give them a pull, there's a little bit of a lean or a little bit of a give with the pegboard. So in hindsight, I probably should have put some up there, but again, I knew that I was going to hang rucks from that top row, so if I would have put that board, I wouldn't have been able to stick the hooks in there. Yeah, I also knew previously my wall was just kind of against a white, or my bags were against a white wall, and it looked all right, but some of the pictures of folks' bag walls on the Carryology Facebook group had the background, and I just thought that looked really great. It makes it real clean. The bags kind of pop off of it. Even the black ones look nice, and so I decided to go with black. Originally, I thought that I was just going to paint the pegboard black and leave a little bit of room around the border that would be white so that the black kind of stands off and there's a little contrast. But because my bags go all the way to the wall, I realized that it doesn't look good for me unless it was completely blacked out on all the sides. So if you have less bags or a bigger pegboard and a bigger space, I think it could be cool to have a black pegboard that has like a contrasting border around it. Another thing that I thought about doing that I did not end up doing, mostly because of time and energy, because the pegboard has holes in it, I thought it would be really cool to maybe put some light strips in there. Maybe some that change colors and stuff like that, so that at night or whatever I could turn on the light strips and all those little holes would have light coming through. Ultimately, just I don't have any plugs over here and I wanted the project to be done with, so I didn't go for that. But if you do it, please post pictures or videos. That should be pretty cool. So when it came to it, mounted the pegboard, some things that I would have done differently. I probably would have painted the pegboard before I put it up, as well as the wall, but I didn't know that I was going to do that. And then probably the most annoying thing that I did was I did not paint the wood support beams. I did not paint those in advance. So I got the pegboard up, drilled it into place, and realized that there was all this, you could see the wood through the pegboard, so there were like these lines, like in this picture right here. And I just didn't think that it looked good, so I tediously thought, well, I'll just stick a little Q-tip of black paint in there, and I did that for a little while, and it was also really super annoying. But I think the end was worth the effort because it looks a lot cleaner, I think. So paint those boards in advance would be a great tip. So then when it comes to actually mounting the bags, what I have here is, so we've just got the hook right here in the wall in the pegboard. Before the ruck itself, you'll see here's this dowel that I've cut down, and it's just sitting right there in the straps, and it's something that I can just easily take out, and if the ruck's gone, no problem. I could easily slip this into another ruck and stick it back up, but it just goes in there. And as I mentioned, the straps, I have those cinched down all the way that they can go down, so this is nice and tight. The bag doesn't kind of flop down. And then just to kind of clean up the wall, I tucked the straps into the molly. Some of the bags, like the heritage ones, don't have molly on the straps, so those I just kind of tucked in, or you could wrap up if you wanted. You could rubber band them or something, but I think it looks more clean on the wall without these all just kind of hanging and dangling all over the place. So then when it comes to putting it up, I just take this dowel, put it right on that hook, give it a little balance and centering, and it's good to go. A couple questions that I got regarding my setup is one, obviously I've got a coat closet right here, and how does that impact the rucks? It is right up against them, so when we open the door, it does run into them. Like, I can't quite open it all the way. I've got a soccer bag down here for one of my sons, but it's not too big of an inconvenience, and it doesn't really impact the rucks too much. Another question I got was, as you can see, I've got a radiator down here, and just wondering if that impacted the rucks. Not that I've noticed. I haven't seen any issues with that. At the same time, I do tend to keep bags that I like a little bit more, a little bit higher and further away from it. You know, like I got my Gorilla X up here and my 26-liter GR2. Those are a little further away from the radiator just to be safe. But the Bullet and the Echo, they can live closer to the radiator, and shouldn't be any issue. Another thing that I would say, if you're like, well, shoot, I don't have all these rucks, I don't need a display wall. Yeah, maybe not, but at the same time, I do think if I didn't have as many, it would still be cool, even with 2 or 3 rucks. You could space them out nicely, and you'd have a lot more room. You could do something like a potted plant with some greenery, and I think it would look really cool, because for me, ultimately, I enjoy my bags, even though I don't carry them all the time. I like them, and as somebody who has multiple websites about rucking and rucking gear and all that stuff, this is just kind of part of my life, and so it's something that I enjoy, seeing as I come and go, and it's a great conversation starter when folks come over. And then I guess the final piece, somebody was asking about this, like, and I've already alluded to it, that these bags are actually ones that I don't carry every day. Those are strewn about the house. My kids have theirs in the schoolroom. I got my work bag and my gym bag. They sit by the table because I grab those constantly. We've got some rucks that we use for ruck training, my daughter and I. Those just sit on the floor because they always have weights in them. Because of the material of the pegboard, I probably wouldn't put anything with any substantial weight, maybe like 10 or 15 pounds, but I would definitely not store it like a 20-pound plate in a ruck on the wall. I wouldn't feel safe with it up there. But yeah, but I think if these were rucks that I used every day, like, it's easy enough to just pop it off. But then if it's fully loaded, I guess that's kind of the wild card. Like I said, I'd probably feel comfortable with about 10 pounds of weight on the pegboard. After that, I'd be afraid that I'd pull too hard, and because of the weight, it might rip apart the board. So maybe this is a good solution for you, maybe not, but just wanted to share. If you got any questions about the Ruck display wall, sound off in the comments below, either on the blog post or in this video, and that's it. We'll see you next time.